I'm Nicky Harris and I'm the product manager for collector services here at the Royal Mint. Today I'm here to talk to you about one of the most exciting projects I've ever been involved in my 15 years in numismatics. Now, all the coins you see here, they were either struck in the lead up, during or after some of the greatest battles in British history. They all come under the banner of what we're calling the currency of conflict. So I've got 3 sets to show you, and there's price points for all our different collectors. So the first set is called the Currency of Conflict set. One of the most interesting coins is this 1944 threepence. Now, this was struck during World War II. Coin production was based at Tower Hill in central London at the time, and there were concerns that enemy fire could damage and limit coin production and affect the war. So there was a secret mission hatched. Coin production was secretly moved to Pinewood Studios, and coins were struck there for a number of years. Up until this point, we didn't know exactly what coins were struck at Pinewood. Reason being, they looked identical to the ones struck at Tower Hill. But research conducted by the Royal Mint Museum, looking at the annual reports, have identified that there was just one denomination and one year where we can say, without doubt, it was struck at Pinewood Studios, and that's the 1944 threepence. So that's included in the set. Also, this was a very popular coin during World War II. Because it's multi-sided as opposed to the normal round coins, it was easy to identify during blackouts, maybe when they were in the tube stations during the bombing raids. So people were able to trade and deal just by feeling these multi-sided coins in their pockets. The next coin I'd like to talk to you about are these Austrian Maria Theresa thalers. Now, on a few occasions in history, the Royal Mint have actually struck international coins for British forces to use in campaigns and during war. And that's the case with this coin. The story behind it is Italian forces had invaded North Africa, and from their German allies, they actually received the dies from Austria to reproduce these coins. The reason they did that, these coins were actually used in North Africa as a reserve currency. So it was used to buy equipment and all the things that they needed for that invasion. Now, for the British counter-strike, they needed to do the same thing. So for a small period of time, these actual coins, these Austrian coins, were actually struck at the Royal Mint. So the final piece I'd like to show you within this set is this special £1 banknote. Now, this was produced to counteract a plan by the Germans to counterfeit our £1 banknotes and basically flood our economy. That would eventually have crashed the economy, and it could have affected the war greatly. So a secret plan was hatched by the Bank of England, and they produced this special issue, this emergency issue. And it's special for a couple of reasons. First of all, they changed the colour of the banknote. The banknote £1 before this was green. They changed the colour to pink and blue for this special emergency issue. And it introduced one of the world's first security strips to feature on a banknote. So that ended the Germans' plans and had a great benefit to the British economy and the British war effort. They're known as the Peppiette banknotes, and that's because Kenneth Peppiette was actually the chief cashier of the Bank of England at the time. So that is the incredible set here today. 2 coins, a banknote, all related to World War II, and each played its own part in Britain and its allies' eventual victory. Comes in a lovely presentation holder with lots of interesting photographs and information about all the stunning pieces within the set. Also, with this incredible 2 coin and banknote set, you get a copy of Objects of War by Kevin Clancy. Now, this is an amazing book, like I said, written by Dr. Kevin Clancy of the Royal Mint Museum. And it charters many different coins and banknotes that were struck during times of conflict. So a great companion with this special set. The next set I'd like to show you is the Currency of Conflict Premium set. Now, within this set, you're getting 2 gold coins, a silver coin, and also a very special banknote, all related to currency struck during the times of conflict. The first coin I'd like to show you is this coin struck in 1918. Which was the last year of World War I. Now, this is a special 1-year issue. It was struck at the Bombay Mint in India, and there's a special story behind this. During this time, the Germans were monitoring our shipping lanes. The U-boats were targeting all the supplies and resources coming into Britain with the hope of starving the nation and finally winning the war, which had raged since 1914. So at that point, our gold was coming from South Africa up through the Atlantic into London. Now, if one of those German U-boats had struck and sunk one of our gold boats, it could have greatly affected the outcome of the war. So a secret plan was hatched. The gold was sent in the opposite direction to British-controlled India. There was a mint there that had been used in the past by the East India Company, so there was already, a great infrastructure there to strike the coins. And the dies were secretly shipped there directly from London. And this coin was struck there, the 1918 India sovereign. The way you can tell that it is an India sovereign, there's a small I just above the date, which represents India. And like I said, it was struck at the Bombay Mint. Now, thankfully, the war was over that very same year, so there was no requirement ever to strike circulated sovereigns in India again, making it a highly sought after one-year issue. And finally, on the obverse, you can see the portrait of George V, the king at the time of World War I. The next coin in the set I'd like to speak to you about is the 20 franc. Now, this French coin is special because it was actually struck in London in 1815, which would turn out to be the last year of the Napoleonic Wars. The coin was struck with the permission of the King of France, the exiled King of France, and it was struck for the British troops to use and spend on goods and essential equipment while they were in France fighting the forces of Napoleon. How you can tell it was struck in London, it has a special R mint mark on there, so you know that this one is struck in London. It's a special coin because 1815 would turn out to be the last year of the Napoleonic Wars, and it obviously ended with the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Now, there were no English gold coins struck that year, so for any collectors that are interested in the Battle of Waterloo, this is an incredible memento of that significant year and that significant battle. So the next coin I'd like to show you is a 1787 silver shilling with the portrait of George III on the obverse, and this was referred to as the King's Shilling. So if you signed up to join the British forces at that time, you were given a shilling, and that could help buy equipment, boots, food, whatever you needed to get you prepared to join the army and go to battle. So it was a tempting proposition for many people because there was several days' pays. But there are also reports that unscrupulous recruiters would actually get a man drunk and secretly slip this into their drink. And when they had finished, without them knowing, they had unwittingly accepted the King's Shilling and were forced to sign up for the British Army. So the next piece I'd like to show you is a very special banknote. It's the £1 Bradbury banknote. Now, within days of the outbreak of World War I, the British government asked its people to hand in their gold sovereigns to help fund the war effort. And they were replaced with this £1 banknote called the Bradbury banknote. You can see the signature of Sir John Bradbury on the banknote there. He was Secretary to the Treasury at the time. But this mission was vital to bolster the war effort. And actually, the Chancellor at the time, David Lloyd George, went on record and said that if you were withholding your sovereigns, not handing them in, you were aiding the enemy more than if you took up arms against your own country. So this banknote played a significant role in the outcome of World War I. The Currency of Conflict premium set has an extremely low limited edition presentation of just 199. So less than 200 people in the world will be privileged enough to own this remarkable set. It also comes with Kevin Clancy's book, Objects of War, Currency in a Time of Conflict, and it will be hand-signed by Kevin himself. So the first coin from this amazing set that I'd like to talk about is a coin from the reign of James II, and it's called gun money. Now, James II was deposed from the British Crown at this time and was in exile, and William III was ruling as King of England. James wanted the throne back, so he started to recharge his forces in his stronghold of Ireland. But he needed money to fund that war effort. There was a severe lack of silver to strike coins, So they came up with a plan. They used basically whatever metals they could get their hands on. That could be church bells, pots, pans, but also guns that were no longer in service. And that's where this coin gets its actual name from, gun money, because some of them were actually struck from melted down guns. And that's what we've got here. It's a silver-proof gun money crown featuring a stunning depiction of James II on horseback, known as an equestrian portrait. This one has been slabbed and graded by NGC. It's got the special Royal Mint label on this coin as well. And it's actually an amazing score of PF65. And that makes it the top of the population for this type. It's the best quality silver proof gun money ever graded by NGC. So the next coin I'd like to show you in this set is the 1813 military guinea. And this one will go down in history as the last ever guinea struck. But as the name suggests, it wasn't struck for general circulation, it was actually struck for the military. And in particular, the Duke of Wellington's men, as they were fighting their way through the Pyrenees. This coin would have been used to trade with local butchers, bakers, for any equipment they would need. And it's assumed that many would have been melted down, because if you were caught with this as a French butcher or baker, it would give the game away that you were dealing with the enemy, and you probably would have been sent to the guillotine. Not many of them are in circulation today. The obverse contains the portrait of George III, and the reverse shows a crowned shield design with the Order of the Garter in Latin, Honi soit qui mal y pense, which translates to shame on he who thinks evil of it. The next coin in the set is the 1746 Lima silver crown from the reign of George II. Now at first glance it might look like a standard George II crown, just in stunning condition, but on further inspection you can actually see the inscription Lima minted into the coin. And that tells a fascinating story, which is a little bit of a mystery, but it is assumed that the silver for this coin was mined in Lima in Peru by the Spanish, who controlled Peru at the time, and then some way on its way back to Spain, it was either by the Spanish or their allies the French, would have been transporting this back to Europe to strike coins out of them to fund their various campaigns around the globe. But somewhere along the way the British intercepted it and actually stole the precious metal from its cargo. The precious metal was actually brought back to the Royal Mint at the Tower of London, and these special coins were struck. And to show this great victory for the British, you see Lima inscribed on the bottom of the coin. And this really kind of put it out there that Britannia now ruled the waves and not the Spanish. It comes in a NGC slab again with the Royal Mint label, and this one has got a very high grade AU 58. So the detail, especially on the hairline there, is absolutely exceptional on this coin. The final piece I'd like to tell you about today is one of the finest examples I've ever had the privilege to hold in my hand, actually, because it's the 1643 Oxford Triple Unite, an unbelievably rare coin. Now, the story behind this is Charles I had to flee London during the English Civil War, with him losing many battles to Oliver Cromwell. And what he did was he retreated to his Oxford stronghold. But they still needed money to fund the war effort, to pay soldiers, to pay for goods and services. So a small number of coins were struck in Oxford. By far the most spectacular is this Oxford Triple Unite. Gold was very, very scarce, so not many of them were struck. Also as well, after the war was lost by Charles I, he was executed, and you get the Lord Protectorate, Oliver Cromwell, take control of the country. He wanted to erase as much signs of monarchy as possible. He actually melted the crown jewels down. When the monarchy was restored under the reign of Charles II, new coronation regalia had to be produced, which is still being used up until the recent coronation of Charles III. So it's also theorized that he would also want to remove any signs of the coinage of Charles I as well. So it may be that many of these were melted down, but what we do know today is around about 200 to 250 are still in existence. It's an incredible coin, not just in terms of the artistry. You see Charles I with sword in hand, On the reverse then you see the date 1643 with the Oxford plumes. But it's also significant because it's the largest English hammered gold coin ever struck, and it also has the highest face value of any English hammered gold coin in history, £3. Now £3 during that time would be able to fund 120 men, soldiers, for a day. So it's incredible to think that this one coin could actually pay 120 soldiers for a day. So remarkable. It comes in the oversized NGC slab with the Royal Mint crest, and this one has a fantastic grade of AU50.